Okay, y'all, we're going to get started. Thanks for coming. This is the first of a series of 3 panels in a workshop created by Women in Film for Digital Hollywood. The title of the workshop is Crossing the Digital Divide, How to Use Digital Tools to be Relevant in Hollywood. And we picked this topic. I picked it in particular because I actually am an ex-Silicon Valley girl, and when I moved here to LA and started evangelizing the beauty of digital media, I realized that despite the fact this is going on for more than 10 years, there's still a lot of people who are a little bit afraid of digital tools, and there are still a lot of people who are doing really new and interesting things that we should be talking about more. So that's why we chose this topic today, so we hope you get something out of it. My name is Angela Getvan. I am the head of a community at a company called Influence.co. Influence.co is the place you come where you want to learn to be better at influencer marketing. We're actually a LinkedIn for the influencer community. We're helping folks who work as digital influencers professionalize themselves, develop some capabilities in that area. And then we're also pairing them with brands in order to make money and find work. And we're offering education and other community activities to get these groups together. So if that's something you're interested in participating in, please come sign up. And by the way, 2 of the lovely ladies on this panel are members of Influence.co, Nick Mora and Brandy. Both are on the platform. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce everybody. Immediately to my right is Nick Mora. Nick is a TV host and an influencer. She's an executive producer, a television personality, and she's also a celebrity and pop culture expert. So save your questions for a little bit later. She's a recent graduate of USC, and she majored in communications and cinematic arts. And she produced several shows on the university's award-winning television network. And then she's also worked with ABC Family, Access TV, and Toi magazine to interview some of the industry's most prominent figures on national television. And she's turned some of these interviews into online segments, which is something we should talk about. And she's developing several TV programs and films right now, and then also appearing online and on cable channels as a TV personality. And I found out she's probably the only person in the world who does not eat pizza.
I do not really love pizza. Sorry.
Next to Nick is Meredith Riley Stewart. I've known Meredith for a while through Women in Film. One of the things I love about her is that she was an integral part of Flip the Script, which is a comedic web series produced by Women in Film that riffed on the inherent sexism and bigotry in Hollywood. She's produced a couple of additional digital series, Autocorrect FU and Southern Dish, and also an experimental VR short. And she has a number of acting credits, including appearances on Devious Maids, Criminal Minds, and 3 out of 4 soaps that are still on the air. She is dedicated to using media as a platform for social change in her work as a producer, and she's about to go to work as a producer on her first feature film, where for which she raised $500,000 on her own. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So next to Meredith is Brandy Marie King. Brandy is known all across the web as Love Brandy Marie. She's a model and an actress and a web video star whose mix of videos and photos on Instagram have earned her more than 330,000 followers. She was also big on our beloved late discontinued Vine as well. We should talk more about that. She had more than 60,000 followers on Vine. And she is from Sacramento, and she's of Cape Verdean and Portuguese descent, among other things. Beautiful ethnic blend, and she went to UC San Diego. And a fact I know about you that you didn't tell me is that your cousin Jordan Andrade represented Cape Verde in the 2016 Olympics.
Yes.
So she has Olympian blood in her family. So. And then finally, at the end, we have Cassidy Getvan, and in case you haven't noticed from the name, we're related. Cassidy is an actor, and she's also a principal in a company called Rebel Casting. She graduated with honors from NYU's Tisch School of the Arts with a BFA in drama. I'm a proud mom. Where she studied at Playwrights Horizons in Stone Street Studios. And while she was there, she was featured in a Facebook commercial and in the Stone Street digital series Paradise by the Dashboard Light. While she was at NYU, she and her friend Yelena, who is a USC drama grad, discovered they had an eye for talent, and they formed Rebel Casting. Rebel Casting focuses on scouting and street casting, and they've parlayed this ability into an actual scouting deal with IMG. They've cast beauty and fashion shoots for Damn Joan and Daniel Moon, music videos for Gary Clark Jr., Joji and Oliver Tree, and short films like Girls in Space. Cassidy is also hoping to formally kick off her own acting career by finding somebody to cast her in a project. And her, something she would like you to know is that she's currently in training to be a sommelier. So,
Nice.
okay?
What is sommelier?
A wine steward,
Oh, good.
wine expert at a
I'll
restaurant.
take some samples.
So after all these long intros, I hope you get to know all these young women better. So I did ask them to think about a few questions before we showed up today. Every one of these women has worked with digital platforms in one way or the other, and they've used it as kind of an adjunct to a more traditional Hollywood career, or actually to focus on or further a separate career. So I think, Brandy, I want to start with you and ask you why did you start exploring digital platforms in the first place? Like what made you think I want 330,000 people on Instagram to follow me? So
So, joining social media was a wonderful accident. I moved to LA wanting.
Mine, please.
Is it on?
yeah, can you push it a little closer?
I was saying social media for me was a wonderful accident. I came to LA wanting to live the dream and act and host, and I met a great group of people who were the hugest stars on Vine at the time. And
Let's stop for a sec. Is everybody familiar with Vine? Vine was the media platform associated with Twitter, and it let you make, how long were the videos?
6-second videos.
6-second videos. So, believe it or not, it actually produced an ecosystem of people who became quite famous for their series of 6-second videos. So, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, it's fine. I forget that, not everybody would know
Yeah.
what Vine is. So I met a group of people that were, I was saying, the biggest stars on Vine, and I was invited to shoot with them one day, and I was like, what is that? What do you mean? And they're like, we make videos. And I'm like, but what do you, where do you work? What do you do? And they're like, this is our job. We make videos for brands. I feel like that app created some of the first brand deals where Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whoever would ask to have their product featured in a video, and they would get paid by them. And it was this crazy unheard of thing. And so I showed up. I didn't even have a Vine account. I had a private Instagram that I was hiding from, jobs and parents and just having fun with friends. And we shot maybe 5 videos that day. And with everyone tagging me and having me make an account that day, I woke up to 40,000 followers. And I was like, what? What's going on? And then so as soon as I got things going, I was like, okay, I want to do this. This is fun. At the end of the day, I'm in front of the camera and I'm practicing acting and just networking and shooting off ideas. They're like, we're not doing Vine anymore. We're going to go to Instagram. And I was like, okay, well, that was fun. So Instagram had just come out with their 15-second video, which was really crazy because Instagram was just photos back then. And so we got to make double the length of 6-second videos and make even longer sketches on Instagram. And at the time, I was a PA for this production company called Pretty Bird that does commercials and music. Oh, yeah. And so I was a PA by day and an Instagram celebrity by night, shooting Instagram videos. And so, again, another wonderful accident. I got laid off as a PA, and I got to spend time doing more videos every day with them shooting, and then I just never had to go back to work. I just created a career out of it.
Did you feel scared or desperate when you got laid off, or did you
It was the most scary thing I've ever dealt with. I had just moved to LA, just, having no job security and being away from home. I was just like, I'm going to be homeless next week. That's just what it is. And
so did that fire up your creativity?
oh
on
yeah,
Instagram?
for sure, because I had so much time and I had pretty much nothing else to do besides like apply for jobs online. And then it's like, well, I have this many hours in the day, everybody's shooting all day, let me come up with ideas, let me write, let me learn how to edit, let me keep active on my profiles and figure this whole thing out.
Now, what is like the biggest, or at least the most visible, you feel, brand deal that you've cut? You sent me a clip that actually has a piece you're in that was sponsored by Electronic Arts. I used to work for Electronic Arts, by the way, but who have you worked with that you would say is probably the most notable or the one that you really like to talk to people about?
I would say, as far as like wanting to be an actress, that was my main goal. Being able to interview Sandra Bullock, Cate Blanchett, and now upcoming star Awkwafina, that was a dream come true. And then also going to Hawaii to shoot a sketch with Kevin Hart. Wow. So yeah, those are opportunities that like I don't know how else I would have got that without being on social media. Great.
And I do have a couple of clips, and we'll cue them up in a few minutes, but wanted to talk a little bit first. So Meredith, so I don't know how long you've actually been in LA. We met like 3 or 4 years ago, and it seems like you hadn't been here that long.
Right, 5 years.
5 years,
Yep.
Okay. So you had a career as a dancer before you decided to kind of decamp and get out here, and then once you landed here, you did your television work, but you also started doing digital work. So like what drew you to the medium? Like what were you looking for when you started producing things that way?
I guess it was being having access, just having I guess agency is even the better word, that I could just do it. As an actor, I spend a lot of time asking my agents to make sure they're pitching me to this other gatekeeper who's then going to suggest me to another gatekeeper, and then maybe I'll get the opportunity to show what I would do if I got the job. I mean, there's just so many layers in before you get the job. And I mean, I've had great fortune in getting some of those jobs, but you work on an episode of TV and it's a week. So you've got a lot of time when you're not working, if you're not a series regular, when you're not like actually on set. So it kept me sort of like juicy in the world of creating, in like story creating, but also learning things like editing, and how to make a joke, how to punch up a joke, and that kind of stuff. With some of the 2 web series that I've created, one is super DIY, that I was doing everything, and another one had a little money and a brand behind it. So both of those together really taught me a lot of those lessons. But really, it was about having the time on my hands and wanting to make my own stuff without having to get permission from somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
So that was my entree into it.
Thank you for that. I want to know, like, who's in the room, like, what you folks do for work. Are you producers? Are you filmmakers? Are you performers? Actor? What are you?
I'm an actor, writer.
Okay.
Done a couple of short films.
Okay.
I'm an actor, but most of my day job is as a baby nurse for film and TV, actors under 16.
Oh, really? Yeah.
A nice short day thing.
Okay. That's cool. And how about you?
I'm from Australia,
Uh-huh.
and I'm an EP producer / producer, developing things right now, and I'm going to be the director as well.
Okay. All right. So most folks here are kind of thinking about producing their own creative, right, with digital tools. I wanted to kind of make sure that we focus the conversation a little bit so you can get some stuff out of it. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'm with an S5 platform.
Uh-huh.
Target, 50+ crowd, and I do content acquisition.
Oh, okay.
Strategies. We talk a little bit about that, right?
Yeah, and actually the folks who are coming after the youngsters here, the women I have coming after are actually more in that demographic, and we can have a bit more of a conversation about targeting over 50. And
What time is that?
it's at 3:15.
Oh, 3.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm sure you can still learn from us.
Yes,
Yeah,
of
right.
course. Yeah. So I guess what I was going to ask Meredith is, are you going to use this learning on your feature? Like, has it kind of, the things that you've done in the digital space taught you things that are going to be relevant for you as you work on this feature?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, from just like production, like understanding the importance of a focus puller and stuff like that, like why you need a second, things like physical production details that I might not have known if I wasn't doing it myself, if I was just being the actor.
Right.
Those kind of things that you sort of just can't unlearn, you know, like the list that you make in your brain at night while you're sleeping before producing the next day. So you just, you know, things that you think about that you wouldn't have otherwise. But you integrating with the digital platform as far as audience building and cross-platform media and how important that is. The feature that I'm doing, not the one that I've recently raised the money for, but the next one I'm about to start raising money for. It's an ode to public school teachers, and so it's a narrative feature. But we really can see the viral capability of having our audience be able to sort of shine a light on their favorite teachers, and that sort of viral possibility, and getting people with a digital audience to be a part of what we're doing in that campaign can really be, we hope, open our audience up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So Nick, you you kind of started trending into the regular television space, but then you started also taking advantage of what was going on digitally. So what was going on in your mind when you started becoming an expert?
Honestly, I think I hit a really interesting time in media. TV was dying, and it was the rise of Netflix and Hulu, and I happened to be at school at USC kind of learning about live streaming and learning about live TV on the internet. And Twitter had just launched and become really popular, and people were really engaging with hashtags. So I thought to myself, how can I make a TV show that can further engage a bigger audience by using hashtags? Because everybody at that time was only on Twitter, and there were so many conversations being had on Twitter about the live shows that they were watching, because not that many people had DVR at the time either. So that is how I learned the importance of engaging with your audience, and I tested it out with ABC Family, and I was like, wow, I really have something amazing here, and their audience is so much bigger than we know. And, you know, we were connecting with people in China, and I was based in downtown LA, and the fact that I could have a conversation with someone in China by the use of a hashtag was wild to me.
What was the ABC Family project?
I did a special for their Make It or Break It show behind the scenes for the finale, and I used that with using hashtags, joining on the conversation. It's the end of the whole series, and people were really invested. Any ABC Family show, now Freeform, all the fans were huge and had huge fandoms, and so the power of connecting through the media started to become very, very obvious to me. And I was like, if you don't get on board, you're gonna lose. We're really all gonna lose, because at the same time, like, college kids don't have TVs in their dorm rooms, they don't have TVs in their apartments, we can't afford it. We can only afford our MacBook Pro that we saved all our money for in college. So it was, how can you utilize the target demographic?
Does everyone here know what a hashtag is? Okay. No? Well, I'm going to put some hashtags up that you can use today if you want to speak on social media about what we're doing. Which platforms did, there we go. Which platforms did you converse with people on?
Well, at the time it was just Twitter, and now it's across all platforms, from Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I believe. I'm not on TikTok.
No, you're going to have to talk about that.
She's going to have to talk about that. I can't. No, thank you. But Facebook and Twitter, YouTube, even YouTube, you use your hashtag. So I think that you can use your hashtags across the board. For me, I've been really successful with using hashtags on Instagram and Twitter, and those are my two favorite platforms personally, even though I'm kind of shying away from Instagram right now.
Okay. Hashtags are... These are hashtags, the words under women in film. They're the hashtags we'd love for you to use today. And they're just words that are prefaced by the pound sign, and it's used as a signal for searching so you can find terms. And a lot of times when you're on social media, you'll see certain conversations that are trending, and they're usually centered around a hashtag. So it's basically a way of finding finding content online.
Actually, I think Victor's asking us to use hashtag Digital Hollywood.
Oh, I didn't.
That's
Okay.
what happens with events. It's really important that everybody's on
Yeah.
the same
He-
message.
he-
Get it out good enough, I guess.
Yeah, no, he didn't tell me. I just made it up. This is what they've used previously. So, but thank you for that. So, great. Well, thanks, Nick.
You're welcome.
So, Cassidy, you have started your own business, which is basically based on Instagram. So, why don't you talk a little bit about how you and Yelena kind of conceived of the idea, and then how you actually use Instagram to drive your business forward?
Yeah. Okay. So I previously worked at another casting company called Cast Partner in New York, and they specialized in street scouting and just like unique everyday people. So a lot of my job was just all day for hours going through Instagram and like finding people who were not famous and did not have a lot of followers but had a really cool look and were really interesting. And then we would like save them in our database for future reference. And then Yelena, my business partner, was working at Warner Brothers casting some TV shows that were coming out at the time. But we both decided that we wanted to create our own business instead of like working for someone. So we started Rebel Casting 2 years ago. And we also specialize in street scouting and I don't know the word is Instagram searching, I guess you could say, as casting. But so a lot of it is just like going through Instagram, finding people who are really interesting and cool and that no one knows about at the moment. And then the other part of it is street scouting, which is just going out on the street and finding people. And then to keep like in contact, we get their Instagram. So a lot of it is like connections made through Instagram. And we get a lot of our jobs through Instagram as well, just people seeing our previous work and then they hire us through that.
Do you have a crazy Instagram story, like a connection that was made through Instagram that really panned out, or?
I mean, most of our jobs we got through Instagram, like the Gary Clark Jr. video. We cast a Gary Clark Jr. music video, which we had no connection with the team before, so they must have found us through Instagram. So that was pretty cool to get to do that.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Well, I need to get back to my other questions here because I'm a little bit lost without my computer, just like a millennial. So, okay, well, this is a good question, and then I'm going to steer it towards Brandy, actually. So somebody mentioned TikTok. So I said, pick 2 platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, whatever else you want to mention, and then tell us why.
Oh, so you want me to talk about TikTok?
Well, I want you to, if you want to talk about TikTok, or if you want to say TikTok sucks, that's fine too. But if there are like 2 platforms that you feel are very dynamic right now, or the ones that people should focus on, tell us which 2 those are.
Yeah, definitely Instagram, which is like my bread and butter. I have my largest following on there. You can pretty much do everything on Instagram that you can do on everything else. You can go live, you can share your stories, post videos, pictures, and now with Instagram TV, you can have even, I think, up to 60-minute videos on that separate page, but it's still within your Instagram page, so that's pretty cool. Touching on TikTok, I'm like 3 weeks back in. It was formerly like Musical.ly, which was its own thing. It was like younger kids lip syncing and doing this crazy choreography and all these like camera angles, and I was just like, okay, I'm not doing that. Like, I don't know how to do that. It was cool, but it was just a large thing to tack on to everything I do on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And so I was just telling Nick that I just started getting back into it, and it was actually kind of fun just to be free. And hashtags are really huge on there, so you find like the current hashtag or the current trend or challenge, and you kind of just react to what videos are out there or make your own version. And it's super simple, whereas like on Instagram, if I make a sketch, I have to write it, I have to shoot it, I have to edit it. pick the right time to post it and all of that. But with TikTok, I literally can just open it up, record it right there, and send it off. There's not really editing and all this large production value. So I think it's currently like really growing really fast, and a lot of people are gravitating towards TikTok.
I have a question. Is it, because I'm not on TikTok, is it,
Hold on a second. Does everybody know what TikTok is?
No.
No? It's an app. It's a mobile app that basically allows you, has the tools to let you make little mini music videos. That's what it boils down to. So sorry.
With his own music?
It's basically based in music, yeah.
so it just basically is the format of Musical.ly and they renamed it?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know what Musical.ly is.
Yeah. But it's expanded. Like
Yeah.
you don't just have to use songs. Like now, people upload original. Like they'll say like a joke, and then people lip sync that.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
not like just a song.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Interesting.
And is there a length limit?
I
Like a
think
6 second,
minute.
15 second? Okay.
It's
okay.
a minute?
So longer.
Yeah, you can do like 15, 30, a minute. Certain challenges, like the loop. It's really about the looping, kind of. And also, like I uploaded sketches too. Like as long as it's within a minute, it can still be content on there.
So you can do some acting.
Do you feel it's easier to grow on an app like that right now than it would be like Instagram since you're on both?
With tagging and using the hashtags, I do think it's probably easier to grow right now. Because it's back to the short form of like
Yeah.
15 seconds, and it automatically swipes you up. Whereas like Instagram, it'll hold you there until you swipe up. So the other night I was kind of researching like what are the trends right now, and it would play one video and it was done, and it just jumped to the next and jumped to the next. And 20 minutes later, I've watched all these videos.
20 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't even ask for it, but it kept me entertained. So.
Smart, yeah.
Well, there you go. That's media distribution.
Even
these
we're
days.
learning up here. Yeah, right.
So, Nick, since you're a celebrity expert, are there any folks who come out of more traditional Hollywood, the more traditional Hollywood space, who are doing stuff digitally that you admire, doing things that you think are really interesting?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of great content being made right now on the digital sphere, because even Jennifer Garner is like doing these, like, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but she's doing these really funny cooking videos on IGTV where she like is making fun of her lack of ability to cook, and it's so relatable and it's so funny to watch her in her kitchen. But I think the days of, you know, stunting on Instagram and these like super photoshopped photos with no story and no relatability and no background and no detail of your life, I think those days are over. I think the Kardashian effect is long gone. And the people that are really starting to stand out on social media are the ones that are telling true stories, really connecting with their audience. Someone that I admire so much. I've been following her for, I want to say more than 6 years, because my blog is hitting 6 years, and I started following her before. Her name is Lauren. She's with the Skinny Confidential, and she has taken us on this like wild ride of a journey of her life. You know her relationship with her husband, you know her relationship with food, you know her relationship with fitness. She has a podcast now. She's expanding herself into all different platforms, whether that's Instagram, blogging, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat. She now has a podcast with her husband. She reveals everything. Not that for me, I'm a little bit more of a private person. I don't really need you to know my relationship status or my relationship with whoever, but she puts it all out there, and I think that she really has evolved with Instagram and has become really motivational, and she's giving you tips and tricks and providing real education and knowledge versus just like, hey, here's a really cute picture of me in my bikini and I'm on a trip with my so-called sugar daddy that no one knows and is in the background low-key, you know? So I think we're starting to see behind the veil and wanting more authentic content with the likes of Instagram going away. I think people are going to start creating more meaningful stuff for themselves and for their audience, because now we're not doing things for likes anymore, which I think is awesome.
Well, I have an opinion about that, and I don't know how it's going to work out, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. So, Meredith, before we came in, you talked a little bit about the film that you want to make about school teachers, and you said, I want to use this medium for promotion, but you didn't talk to this crowd about what your idea is. Where you said you kind of came from an influencer panel and you want them to do X. So
Right.
I think this is a really interesting way of actually using people who have influence in digital media to achieve a goal. So why don't you
Okay,
talk
great.
about that?
Yeah, I'll talk about my newly established goal. So this is a feature that I'm producing. I didn't write it and won't direct it, but it's about public school teachers and giving them a voice when they're so often not thought of. And so my director has had a meeting at CAA, like, you know, the biggest agency in Hollywood, and that it got taken to Warner Brothers. So the script is at Warner Brothers now, and it's has great possibilities. But we are tasked with proving that there's an audience for this and that essentially we should be in charge of it, you know, not just sort of sell the script and have somebody else make it and change all the authenticity about it. So we have been brainstorming because we have fiscal sponsorship through an organization called Film Independent that is really sort of the A-list of indies, especially in LA, so that we can take donations. That's what fiscal sponsorship gives us. We can take donations. So if we have an investor who would rather have the tax benefit of donating, we can take a $100,000 donation. Great. And they get a tax credit. Or we can also take, you know, sort of more of a crowdfunding, grassroots kind of style and size of donations. So we are crafting a campaign that will go out for Giving Tuesday, asking people, either whether it's public school teachers, to say, I'll give $1 to show you that I'm interested in a movie about my story. Or people who have a teacher who changed their life, saying, I'll give $1 to have a story about the importance of teachers written and produced. So we want to try to show these major Hollywood companies that we can get $10,000 $1 donations to show that that's just a you know, scratching the top of the surface of the audience that we could have.
Can we give you $1 now?
I'll take your $1. Yeah. Well, you should follow us all, you know, on our social platforms. And, you know, during this Giving Tuesday, we're going to make a major push for it. And I want to get some influencers to help me out with this kind of thing. Yeah, to help me out with this kind of thing, because it's one of these things that's like, who didn't have a teacher who affected their life positively?
Yeah, absolutely.
Almost no one. And if you'll simply give it $1, it's a really low ask, but it's, again, proof to somebody like a, you know, Hollywood system. And I know we're going to talk about sort of the blockade in the Hollywood system, and this is part of it, is being able to make your own content when and where you want to with some funding.
I'll give you the $1, you do the work.
Sounds good.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, so that's actually really curious. I'm wondering if you thought about extending that to exhibition, potentially tying that $1 donation to I'll buy a ticket.
For sure, once we're closer, because by giving a donation through Film Independent, we are harnessing those email addresses. And so we will for sure not only have the $10,000, but 10,000 email addresses that we can then get back in touch with when it's time for our premieres, for sure. And
Targeting geographic locations for potential, when you finally get to the ability to distribute, to then target that area, or are you actually doing a wider net across the whole U.S.?
well, we're going to do a wide net, but between LA, New York, Chicago, Miami-Dade, those are the biggest school systems. And we have a really strong connection into AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, the largest union for teachers. So there's something like, I don't want to misquote the number, but I think it's like 30 million teachers. I mean, it's huge, and 150 million high schoolers in the country. So if we can get to just a little bit of that audience, that's ticket sales.
I think health is a function of participation. Make this multiply to $10,000 and come back to me.
Amen.
Thank you.
Our first donation.
So, Cass, you've often expressed to me a certain level of negativity about what's going on in social media and digital media. So maybe you could tell this audience a little bit about some of the things that worry you in the space.
I mean, personally, I don't really want my life to be like publicly all over Instagram, which is the reason why I don't necessarily love it so much. But I think for work purposes, it's awesome, and like you can definitely get jobs out of it and find people that you never would have been able to find before. I feel like the negativity just comes from like my own personal Instagram. I don't necessarily want people to. I just feel like in general I'm a very like private person, and I try
Must be
to.
a Virgo.
I'm not. But I just try not to be on my phone in general. Like I just try not to use technology that often. But for work purposes, like for Rebel Casting, it's awesome, and we get find so many jobs from that, and like find so many people from that.
Do
So I
you-
think there's different sides to it. It's like if you're using it personally versus like using it to your advantage.
Okay.
There's like people have different uses for it, obviously.
And I feel like that's where it gets interesting too, where career and personal blend. And what are the lines? Like you
Right.
see this woman who like shares everything, but that's also her job now. You know, like she is making money
Yeah.
from sharing everything. So
Yeah.
it's a weird.
As a blogger,
place
it's
to
like
be.
my job too, but
It's like a thin line.
It's like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, exactly.
What's too much information to share? And sometimes, you know, as you get older, and I remember when I started Instagram, it was in college. So at that time, you're young, you're carefree, and you don't really know better, and you kind of want the validation, and you want the attention, and you want all of that. And then you grow up a little bit, and you're like, oh, wait, like the most sacred things in life are private.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to share those things. So I think that that's kind of where you learn, okay, I might not share X about my life, but I'm going to share my new skincare routine for people who have skin problems or my weight loss problems or whatever. And those are, you just have to pick and choose what you decide to share.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I don't think it should be a free for all personally.
No, yeah, I agree.
So, okay, you're all women here, and of course, safety is an issue. So, have there been circumstances where you have been trolled or threatened or felt not safe in the digital sphere? And is it something you might want to talk about or say how you kind of combated it? Or because, believe it or not, it's an issue for women.
I mean, I get like marriage proposals like twice a week. You know, it's just one of those weird things, but I can let it go. But I have never felt unsafe, I should
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never felt unsafe. A lot of unwanted photos and videos, and comments. It's this weird thing that a lot of people hide behind the comments, and they'll comment something super negative, super attacking, and once you address it, it's like, oh my God, you replied, I love you, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
But
there's
that
a human
happens
on the other side of this.
Yeah, it happens so much. So it's more about, I think, just getting attention. Because it's like, if you really don't like me, if you didn't like this photo, then why are you even following me? So
You never got like any like hate mail? Or like
No.
any like hate? Oh my God.
Oh,
or
I've
like
gotten-
you've never tried, like no one's ever tried to hack you?
yeah, more my email. Fortunately, no one's ever tried to take my Instagram or profile. So
I mean, I've
I feel
definitely.
like you have a story.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've had a blog, givememora.com, for 6 years now. I have been hacked, like attempted hacks on like multiple times. And I really have, especially this year after a couple months of just being full on harassed on the internet and people knowing where I'm at or people knowing certain things about me. It's really scared me, and I think that was the catalyst for me to say, okay, you know what? I don't really know if being an influencer is for me right now. I don't really think I want to share as much as my life with people, and it's really caused me to double up on security. I don't post in real time. I mean, I might Insta story and not location tag in real time, but I will not post a lot of things in real time anymore if I'm going to location tag, which is a huge tool for those of you who want to know how to grow on Instagram. The location tag is a great way to be discovered. I've gotten many jobs this year just from tagging a location. But I think as women, like, we need to be really careful with where we're saying we are, and who knows where we are, because it's not that safe anymore. The internet is not a safe place. And I mean, I'm sure you guys get inappropriate messages, inappropriate photos too, but to get your website hacked or your Instagram hacked, when that's your livelihood, that's your bread and butter, it's a very scary world out there,
Yeah, for sure.
you know?
Sure. And it's kind of interesting to you're just like in traditional media, you're often the product, but there are not so many things protecting you right? You know what I mean? It's a little tougher. So, well, believe it or not, it is 3 o'clock, which is supposed to be the stop time for this. But I do have a couple of clips I'd like to show if everybody is down with that. So let's do that.
Thank you.
Sorry, this setup is not the best right this minute. Hold on.
Are you still doing Facebook at all, or no? That's out?
Yeah,
Facebook
I
out?
am.
Oh, okay.
Facebook video is pretty big right now on like pages, and there's a new Facebook Watch section where they're trying to get a lot of influencers and creators to create more of a series and treat it like TV, so that they know we post every Thursday at 2 p.m. for a new episode of this. Yeah.
Use me. Use me.
I got your card.
Sorry, guys.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely. Please keep talking.
With 5G, we're going to see platforms transform a lot faster than what we're used to. So just like it used to be on Vine, everything is shifting. TikTok is getting ahead. For the people who are more hesitant to use these new platforms because it changes too often,
Yeah.
what are some of the core methodologies that you would say, hey, it doesn't matter what platform you're on, these are the ways to go, this is what you should be doing? I think you had mentioned being authentic. Like, what are some tips
Yeah.
that you could give to people who are trying to break into new platforms?
I think you're definitely right. Everything is changing so rapidly. I think when you decide what content you want to stick to, whether it's like I want to do cooking and I need to find the best app for cooking, it's really just finding out what app fits what you want to do at the time, and also what kind of time do you have, because if you can't sit here and edit and produce a 30-minute cooking show on YouTube, maybe you should try TikTok and give a 1-minute tip on, oh, this is how I make an egg, and see how that goes. But at the same time, you do need to dabble a little bit in every platform, because one, not every country is allowed to have every app, which I learned by people on Twitter saying, hey, I don't have Instagram in this country, can you please post your videos on Twitter? And I was like, wow, I would have never even thought about that. So if I've made it, it's kind of easy for me to just push it everywhere, but it is scary to like put your time into something that you don't know if it'll take off, or this app is doing really bad, so you don't want to do it there anymore. I think it's really just about finding out what content you want to stick to and finding the best app for that at the time, because everything's going to keep changing. We can't stop that. You just have to adapt.
On that note, because you said everything is changing and everything really is going to change, the best advice I can give you is, where are you housing your content? Because you own your content. Instagram will own your content as well if you post it on Instagram, but where is your hub? So if Instagram's gone tomorrow, all your content's gone tomorrow. Where are you holding that? Whether that's a personal website for you and yourself. Like for me, I house everything on Give Me Mora. Whether I post a video on Instagram, that video on Instagram's also going on my website, so that if the day after tomorrow there's no Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anything, at least everything is already on that website. I own it, I have the rights to it, and no one can take that away from me.
It's a really good point. Really, really good point. It's interesting to me that we haven't talked that much about the granddaddy of it all, which is YouTube, right? Which has turned into the biggest visual search database on the planet. Right. And but it's also become big and unwieldy as well. It's easy to get lost in the crowd. So anyway, should we watch some clips? Do we have any more questions? Okay. This is from Brandy. This is the clip I was referring to about that was sponsored by EA.
Come on, it's go time, baby. It's go time. Oh my God, he's clearly cheating every time.
Well, that's game. Wes, give me the stick.
No, run it back. Run it back.
Give me the control.
It's mine. Come on, go on. Go. Go on. You could have just pressed X. What?
You could have just pressed X. I really need this outfit to pop.
Oh, it's gonna be poppin'.
Yes.
Can I use the bathroom?
Say in Espanol, please.
Eres un idiota. No sabes español.
De nada.
It reduces the appearance of lip lines and lasts up to 2 hours.
Hi, ladies.
Hi, Brandy.
I'm so excited to see this film, but I have a very important question. I need to know, out of the three of you, which one of you is most capable of pulling off a heist in real life? Getting some confusing signals.
We can't do it without the other. There you go. I know, teamwork.
Do you have room for one more?
Would you like to be?
I feel that I am ready.
Okay, guys, what you got?
I can't say too much right now.
How many languages?
7.5.
7.5. You're in. You are in.
Okay, so I have a lot of work to do.
So awesome.
Thank you.
So that was just a few pieces just showing how social media has given me opportunities to work with brands and create online commercials. With Warner Brothers,
Meredith
I
Riley
got to
too.
interview the cast of Ocean's 8 and then also make a video about that, about my experience, and watch the film and go to the premiere and things like that. But it's really important just to collaborate with everybody. That first commercial was actually my boyfriend / mentor's Madden ad, and so just the level of production of that versus like posting just a selfie Instagram video, like it's totally different, but you have to have that range of like showing I can make content for this like world-renowned brand, but I also can be relatable and just talk to people in my bedroom.
Thank you. This is 30 seconds from Flip the Script, which was the comedy web series that Meredith worked on.
Oh, what? No hug for the big boss lady? Oh! Grab me an apple. Don't like peels.
I'm the director.
That's great.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan.
Jonathan, yeah.
Jonathan.
Jonathan. I read a lot of happy endings for lesbians.
You want to make a film that changes how people think.
No.
Flip the Script is on YouTube, so if you are interested in watching this series, please check it out.
On Women in Films channel.
Yeah, so I'd encourage everyone to go watch it. It's really pretty wonderful. So, anything else from anyone today? We had so much more we wanted to cover, and the time just flew by, didn't it? Yeah. So do you thank our lovely ladies for being here today, and thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm taking donations.
Great. And so I'm going to shuffle them off, and then we have another group of women joining us at 3:15 who are a little older and have been spending kind of basically started their careers in more traditional Hollywood formats, or some of them have actually lived their lives as Jeanette, forecasting what's next in terms of media trends. So we're going to have a chat with them about how they use digital tools and what they think is coming next. So,
Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, wait, can I take a photo with you?
Yes. Wes, can I get a photo?
I suppose. Yeah, can we take a pic before we?
Can I just get
Yeah.
Oh, wait, can I have one too? Are we going to airdrop this photo? Is the question?
Yeah. He's going to get mad at me. I'll
she
say, in this camera, and this camera, and this camera, and this one, and this one, and this one.
Is this your boyfriend?
Yes. And then
Don't you recognize me
What a
from
supportive
EA?
So we all strive for.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Thank
all your message. Thank you.
Oh, one more.
Oh, are we getting another one?
Thanks.
Can I get your?
Yeah, and I would love to message you as we get closer to actually.
Is there a power source down here?
I'm trying to figure out
Power source.
Refuge on the campus. Yeah, and Chicago.
All right, I'll ask. Hi.
and it's a very organic intersection.
Yeah. So next.
Thank you.
I'll message you for sure through Instagram.
I just followed all of you
Well,
guys.
and then you
So.
could be able to get a parent teacher feedback. So, yeah. So. Well, I just joined them. I just joined them. Literally, when I reached out to you folks, I was still putting all the pieces together. So I couldn't quite say. Oh, right. But yes. So I would love to talk some more. Yeah, because they've been kind of busy getting organized. So I literally start on Monday. So, yeah, so I'm so glad you came in. So we'll have more conversations. So, you're welcome. Thanks for coming. You're welcome. Thank you. I'm fine.
So we are producers, we are producer.
There's a power source right here.
So if you bad 1 pound, not that it would matter. Tessa, this is my daughter, Cassidy. Tessa is Tessa has been in Rivendell Bell for quite some time, and then she's also founded Fremont. Yeah.
I didn't think so when I was your age. But now I know that's
Yeah, so we created something 6 students did the first 6 jobs at South by, and then there's Dogma, and then it's 501c3 nonprofit that actually everybody wanted to do more immersive, and she had the mission.
that was a good panel. That's good.
Yeah, because I literally got asked to do this. Like 2.5 months ago. Yeah, so by the time I was able to pull everything together, and then it's on the website, but it's there. How are you? Good. Nice to see you. Yeah, it was such a Karen,
I spoke to she's 25, I guess. She went to Amsterdam, but she's a lawyer. I mean, she has exquisite knowledge and taste about movies. Never had that with her boyfriend. I asked her where he works, and she's like, oh, it's not management for me. You would know. And she told me what it was. I'm like, oh, it was in our wedding. And we happened to actually be at the anniversary party the year before.
Thanks for coming. quite start out, but I've seen this before.
I know, I've been to they're busy, but it's okay. Are you getting it? Are you filming it?
They're coming. Well, I can get it from Random Rate, it's fine.
Well, I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, I just wander around.
I like it's the population versus
Had like a little work that out. These are your co-channels. You can sit next to me. Okay. Oh, Jeanette.
Taryn, my hands are very cold.
That's okay, Taryn. My hands are tough. What is it?
I now know. 18. Say, oh, I know.
And you say
He's okay from acting though. It's more of like, I'm being so big and awesome commercials, so I just do a lot of instantaneous.
Okay.
Are you ready to start?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
It's getting darker.
Hi, I'm Angela. What happened to you? Oh no. Oh, sorry. Well, thanks for coming. Yeah. Okay, ladies and germs, we're going to move on to our second panel today. You just heard from our digital natives. This particular group I have termed experienced explorers. These ladies have had more of a career in traditional Hollywood and media backgrounds, and then they turned their directions and their focus and their talent into the digital space. And so we're going to chat to them today a little bit about what they've done and what they are planning to do and what they see coming for all of us. So immediately to my right, I've got Taryn O'Neill. Taryn, my favorite thing about Taryn, I have many favorite things about Taryn, but my very special favorite thing about Taryn is that we are both Duke Blue Devils. We both graduated from Duke University. So she's also a very committed sci-fi fan, as am I, and we're very devoted to the idea of producing sci-fi from a female point of view. So something that we would like to talk about. But she was born in Vancouver, and believe it or not, she was a competitive figure skater and a national medalist in ice dancing.
Oh, nice.
And then when she went to Duke, she graduated with a degree in economics in theater and film, and she's now a professional actress and writer and a web series producer and also a science advocate. She co-founded a group I love. It's called Sirens, SCIRENS. They're a science advocacy and creative team focused on inspiring science literacy in the general public through entertainment. And they develop unscripted and scripted TV projects and use social media to share STEM news. So lots of great things going on. Go Duke. Next to Taryn is Jeanette DePatty. Jeanette was a late addition. You have to be very grateful to her for showing up today.
I'm actually Lori Schwartz.
Lori could not join us today. She had some things she had to take care of. But Jeanette describes herself as a professional tech-splainer. So she takes really complicated technologies and concepts and breaks them down into everyday language that everyone can understand. She works with Lori at StoryTech, and she shares wildly entertaining and educational views on technology trends with companies like McDonald's, Reynolds, Meredith, Better Homes and Gardens, Facebook, 20th Century Fox. She boasts that she once raised several $1 million in venture capital for a technology company with a presentation that featured 2 pieces of PVC pipe, a plastic funnel, and a rubber chicken. She's been hired to describe tech by a host of Fortune 500 companies. I could make a really long list, but it includes companies like Apple, Intel, and Microsoft. And she's spoken at a number of conferences in colleges and universities and has appeared in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, on Dr. Drew, the Katie Couric Show, and ABC News, NPR, and the Huffington Post. So we're delighted to have her wisdom with us today. Down at the end, we have Tessa Bell, who's a producer and a filmmaker. She began her career at 60 Minutes and the CBS Evening News. Oh, the stories I bet you can tell us, Tessa. She also created the FYI column for Premiere Magazine, and for 20 years was the president of Infinity Films and Video. Since she moved to LA in 2008, she's produced 3 Women in Film International Short Film Festival. I cut something off here, Tessa.
The actual festivals.
No, the festivals, right. Yeah. She's produced a feature film by Jean Weber, Bipolar, and the multiple award-winning family drama Life Inside Out. She also has done, as I know, many PSAs for the Women in Film PSA production program. She's currently in development on Hacienda, California, a TV series set in Southern California in the 1930s. And her screenplay, The Legend, based on the myth of the first female pope, has recently won 3 awards for Best Screenplay. She's also a founding member of Greenlight Women, whose mission is to champion professional women over the age of 40 and promote diverse perspectives in media. So that's Ms. Tessa. So I had everyone, you didn't get the benefit of this, I don't think, but you can share your thoughts as we talk. So I proposed a few questions to the panel for them to talk about. And the first one was, and I'm going to ask you this, Tessa, because you had a long track record in different forms of media, but do you think digital platforms are actually good for Hollywood? And why or why not?
Yeah, I remember you sending that question and thinking about that for a bit. So I think that first of all, as a place to be able to take all the technology that we have, which is not expensive, certainly not as expensive as it was when I was 20, and practice and learn the craft, it's fabulous. It's fabulous not only for the craft, the creative content, but also because it forces you to learn about marketing in order to reach an audience, because those tools are also available. So it's really fantastic in that way. I think there's an illusion of success that gets perpetrated by the sort of mass marketing of what that looks like, and the reality is really much different. The level of competition is extraordinary when you're competing against hundreds of thousands of content creators. And so therefore, success in that space isn't just about being in the space, it's also about relationships, and by that I mean like, hi, my name is, kind of relationships where you actually physically touch the other person. And I think for the generation that's growing up with this, especially the really young generation that's growing up with this, that's going to be a struggle for them to really understand how to run a business and a creative business through relationships is going to be a struggle, because the lie is that you don't have to, because you can reach people Facebook-wise. But that's not, if you actually look at the most successful people in that space, they're going to all the film festivals. They're doing digital divide. You know, they're out there in this space. But in general, I think it's extraordinary to have the ability to create content on a shoestring. I think is a fantastic thing. I also think that as we move more and more into a world where artificial intelligence is running the world, and we need fewer and fewer people who do things for a living, you're going to have more and more people who have nothing to do but tell us what they're thinking and creating. And so I am a real proponent that we must figure out a way to support creative content in a way that is meaningful rather than competitive. So that, you know, like in the good old days where there was a National Endowment for the Arts and there were grants all over the place for people to create content. When I was a kid, I worked for Doug Davis, and there were two video artists, because video was new in the late 70s. And they both lived in Soho when Soho was still an industrial space. And I worked for Doug Davis, and he had a grant from the NEA for $50,000 a year in the 70s, which would be about $350,000 a year right now, which is about what you need to live in this town and actually be able to do something and have a family, which is what he had. It was a family. So I think we need to support our arts more than we do in order for this digital divide to not be divisive.
Interesting. So either of you can...
That's what my short film's about.
Oh, is it really? So tell us more.
I know. It's I've been writing sci-fi for a long time, but I finally decided to pick up the camera and direct something, one of my scripts, and it is about sort of the future. It's like a Black Mirror-esque short film about the future of influencers under the gaze of an artificially intelligent camera system, but that AI also exists in the larger narrative in that it has disrupted, as McKinsey & Company says, it's going to disrupt 350 million jobs worldwide by 2050. So, you know, we have an impending cataclysmic change that's coming, and it's only going to affect content as well. So the short film is sort of, what do you do when the only thing you can create currency around is your conflict that you show online? So.
I guess I have a slightly less dystopian view of the effect that these digital platforms have on Hollywood. One thing is, I think it allows the conversation to be much more bidirectional, and viewers are influencing what is being seen, I think, in a more direct way, and viewers feel more empowered than they were before. But also, I think if you look at not just the Hollywood business, but every business, that is innovating right now. There's this idea of the sort of the lean startup, the minimum viable product. And what happens on these digital platforms is that you can experiment so much more and so much more quickly. I think it's given Hollywood a big kick in the pants that really was needed. That's my view.
Okay. Well, when you say kick in the pants, what is the kick in the pants?
I think the kick in the pants is that they're seeing. I think a lot of the decision making in the past was done by very small groups of old white men, right? I mean, if we're going to be frank. And what's happening is, I think at that gatekeeper stage, a lot of them just decided certain things would never work. And then on the digital platform, things come out, and they're like, oh, people want to see things like this because it's already there in front of them. They can't deny it anymore. And so the tail's wagging the dog a little bit more, I think, in that they're looking at what they can't deny that certain kinds of diversity are very effective because the numbers are right in front of them. And if they don't do it, there are others who will.
Right. So Issa Rae would never exist, right? The awkward black girl.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think without that digital first experimentation, I'm doing it with you or without you, I don't think that would be alive in the entertainment space right now.
Don't you think she's a bit of an outlier, though? When I got into the producing space for web series, 2008, Dr. Horrible Sing-Along blog had just been released.
It's one of my
very favorites.
The sci-fi web series that I co-produced was nominated for a streaming up against them, so I'm meeting Joss Whedon, and I'm like, this digital space is amazing. Right? Meeting like my Buffy king. But, we have and even the Guild, it never got mainstream success. I had so many friends who made phenomenal web series, yet they never were able to monetize them the way that they were promised.
Right, but there's monetizing and there's eyeballs, right? Studios know how to monetize. That's not a question for them. Producing something that's fresh and interesting and being willing to take the risk, that's what they're not so good at. And I think that's something that digital has pushed forward because they can see. Even a series that doesn't make millions of dollars but gets tens or hundreds of millions of eyeballs, that's a success in terms of visibility. The studio knows how to make money once it's visible, I think.
Okay.
I think we're sort of talking about two things, both of which are true, but which conflict with each other.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, yes, absolutely, have the OWMs been kicked in the pants? Yes. Do they still hold all the strings? Yes. And with that, everything that implies, even if they see, oh, look, this little web series about science fiction has got lots and lots of views, do they bring up those creators? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just take the IP and reconfigure it so that it's there. So, it can be good, it can be not so good.
Well, it's interesting to me that you say do they still hold all the strings, because that means you're defining success on getting your product onto their distribution platforms, right?
Well, but they're the ones who know, as she points out, they're the ones who know how to actually monetize it. I have a lot of friends who do really great content, and they're self-funded, and they're not able to, like the distribution marketing arm is expensive, and even in the smaller space, it's expensive. Like I can make a short something or other, but I'm going to end up paying I won't pay the actors because they're lovely, and then I'll end up, paying the DP because I got to have him, and then I'll end up paying the guy who's taking the shots for the Instagram. And I'm not paying him a lot, but the marketing end of it, I have to pay. It's like in the old days, you had to pay for sound or something. I don't remember what we had to pay for, but there's always something you have to pay for.
You still should pay for sound.
Yes. You should pay for absolutely. If you're going to pay anybody, pay the sound guy.
Just all the when a young web series producer will come up to me, what's the one thing I should make sure I do? I'm like, good sound.
Good sound.
Yeah, because everybody can shoot something good on their phones now, but sound.
Yeah, sound is always a big
and someone doing and I didn't have someone on set doing BTS for me, behind the scenes shots, and that or stills, and that for my short has definitely been a thorn in my side when I'm having to do a lot of press and marketing for film festivals. I'm having to like scrounge for stills and screen captures.
This is a really important cautionary tale. There are things you should hire your cousin's brother to do and things that you should not hire your cousin's brother to do. And yeah, BTS is definitely something to spend to spend on. But I would say, you know, based like what we saw with the panel before ours and what we are continuing to see is that there is an opportunity now for brands to connect directly with content creators in a way that they never could before. And when you look at some of these branded entertainment opportunities, there is money to be made, and it's a different flavor of money, it's a different channel of money, but there's still money. And I think if you're not necessarily funding a $10 million production, you don't need that initial startup money. We're seeing, especially with blockchain and some of these other technologies that are coming in, that the brands are actually funding production of short films and other kinds of content and getting involved at a very early stage. And there is no studio. There's Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola has plenty of eyeballs, so they can bring that to the table. So I think it's shifting in a way. Are there people who are going to get lost and taken advantage of? Absolutely, absolutely. And you have to be careful and know what you're doing. But I think there are opportunities there.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. I'm wondering if everybody knows what blockchain is?
No, I don't.
Nobody knows what blockchain is. Don't feel bad.
Sure we do.
No. Blockchain is a technology that's used for like cryptocurrency for Bitcoin, but it's also used for things like smart contracts and ways to determine with other people what has value. That's really what blockchain does.
We're putting your simplification tools to work here. So we've been talking a little bit about how, yes, this has disrupted Hollywood, but there's still a subset of people who hold all the strings. So I wanted to put it in the context of you and your short. That you're trying to get out there, like what defines success for you? If you put this thing on the table and you say, I've got this as part of me, I want to show it to the world, and I will deem it as success when X happens.
I've already deemed it a success just by doing it and finishing it and distributing it. So I have a story and it has an audience. And so, you know, I have to first and foremost say, yes, it's a success. To move my career forward, I think the most important thing for me is to catalyze an audience around it and really take note of sort of, I'm a futurist. I'm really passionate about taking science and technology issues and weaving them into stories so that we have some sort of a narrative framework to address our future that doesn't have a narrative that's giving us direction of what to do with climate, with AI, with all the technological and genetic disruptions that we're going to have. But I want to give us some hope, too. I don't want it just to be dystopic. So I have a feature film version of it, which I would love to go, and the company that released my short has the option on it. They haven't exercised it yet, you know, for me to write it, but it's my calling card as a science fiction writer and filmmaker and a futurist. So it's a success when when it leads to the next project that furthers the message as a filmmaker that I have.
Okay. Now, there's some things that you have done with Sirens that you guys are very proud of, that you would be good storytelling for these folks here. Yeah.
I mean, this is an interesting way of using social media. So Sirens came about because I wrote a blog post after watching Bill Nye, the Science Guy, debate Ken Ham. Ken Ham owns the Creationist Museum in Kentucky. He believes the Earth is 4,000 years old. And it was online. I was like, why is he even debating this guy? Watched it for 5 minutes, had to turn it off. I was just so despondent. And then got online and saw all the support that Ken Ham had. And I'm like, people, come on. Like, you can't be serious. And so I wrote an impassioned blog post about how we absolutely need science literacy in our population so that we can come together as a global civilization and not destroy ourselves. I wasn't that dramatic. But I also posited that entertainment was the best Trojan horse to get science literacy to the population. That, we don't need to be hammered by a bunch of guys in lab coats telling us why we need to understand the first principles of physics. We just need to experience why science is so cool. It gives us the toolbox to explain our natural world. How amazing is that? Like, when I went down the science rabbit hole, it was because I was trying to make my sci-fi as theoretically legitimate as possible. And when I did that, I became an evangelist because I'm like, this is amazing. I had no idea about all of this. I didn't study science in college. I happened to love Carl Sagan, when I was a little kid because my dad had the book. But then, I found my way back to it, and I'm like, this is a calling, really. And so, long story short, I wrote the blog post, and it went semi-viral. And I did a call to action to a bunch of entertainment people, especially actresses I knew, where I'm like, who are the least likely but yet most effective people who could champion science? And that's actresses. Because you wouldn't expect, oh, we're divas and we do this and blah, blah, blah. No, we are committed, intelligent, passionate women who, none of us had science degrees, but we all were big science nerds, and we would go to NASA events and we'd go to Comic-Con and sit on the science panels. And we joined forces and created this team. We kind of launched social media-wise when they did the reboot of Cosmos. And we live tweeted every episode of Cosmos and made it just really fun and exciting. And we're like, we would just be like, we didn't know that. Did you know that? We'd really engage with people. There were some stuff that we would add additional information about that we'd know. And so that's how we started, and I've been on Bill Nye the Science Guy's Netflix show and Neil deGrasse Tyson show, where I talked about thorium and nuclear energy on the Bill Nye show, which I was given 1 day's notice on, so that was really fun. The writer was like, how much do you know about nuclear energy? I'm like, enough. I'm an actor, I can know. I study, I copy every hour, every day, I'm just digging into everything. But yeah, I actually corrected one of the experts on the panel about a data point, and I felt very proud of myself.
So can you give folks in the room a way to sign up for this? I think it's the perfect time to turn this into a movement, right?
Thanks. Yeah. So, we're on social media. We've been on a bit of a hiatus just because we've all been working on different projects, my short film, and my cohort Tamara Krinsky is on an amazing show on the Space Channel, and which is in Canada, and then Science Channel in the U.S., and Gia Moore has been on a film. But yeah, we have a script, a bunch of scripts that we're writing, and we really want to get this back in action because people always seem to be really authentically excited by it.
So you heard it here, folks. If we want to give science more prominence in our society, come join up with these ladies and let's get some content made, okay?
Yes.
So.
It's Sirens, SCIRENS.
I'm Sandra Marshall.
Hi, Sandra.
So besides being an incredible actor, I'm also involved in stem cell patch. You heard of stem cell
Yes, of course.
injections. So if any of you want to come, I have a stem cell patch. You wear for 12 hours, on and off. It gives you lots of energy, and it starts recreating stem cells. And I'll give you the video we're looking at. He's been involved 20 years as a scientist. But people don't know about it. It's the best trend there is.
No, I do a lot of research with stem cell technology, but the patch, no, I know it just is sort of specific.
So we should take this conversation offline. Yeah. So we're talking about science fiction, and making me think about AI. I talk to my freaking Alexa all the time. I make her bark.
It's demeaning to the
but so Jeanette, I wanted to, since we've brought up the idea of AI, I wanted to know if you see any role in AI in our entertainment going forward, like both in the creation of it and the consumption of it. So this might be a way of getting the strings out of the hands of some people, or maybe not.
Well,
I don't
know. Actually, I think it's even less that. And there's already lots and lots of work being done on how to edit the perfect movie, how to make the perfect song. If you go on Facebook, they've already chopped up all your photographs and decided there is a theme here, and then you wake up one morning and they've done a little short video on all your, I mean, you know, that's AI, and that's creative, and that's, so there's no question that is something that everybody, that many people in different industries are looking at as a way to communicate. And personally, you know, I'm over 60. I like real things, and not that there's anything wrong with artificial intelligence, but I feel like if the thought patterns of the human race are determined by the general consensus of the data that drives the creative decisions on what is shown, then we may end up missing something. We may end up being a non-cultured culture. I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go with it. It's fascinating, and I'm sure I use a lot of artificial intelligence already in my art that I don't even realize I'm doing, or that I do, but I'm in control. And I guess that I'm a control freak. You know what? That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
let's hold that thought, and let's have Jeanette tell us a little bit of what she's seeing in her wonderful way.
In AI. So AI is being used to simplify a lot of the production process. So everything from memorizing all of the camera angles that happened to using image recognition in the editing process, and data cataloging, which for news is a key component. We're also seeing AI being used in a very interesting way in the creative process. And I know the ETC, the Entertainment Technology Center at USC, is doing some really interesting research into this space. It's something called generative design, which is where AI doesn't have to think inside the box. As humans, we're conditioned to think inside a certain box. We just are by our experiences. And sometimes what can happen with generative design is a computer will just try things that a human would never think to try because it seems ridiculous. And sometimes out of that, really fresh and interesting and new things can happen. A lot of it is unusable and weird, but sometimes it can jog things out of sort of a formula that into a space that's never been tried before. Can that be misused? Absolutely. I think there is a potential for that. I think it's important to think of all of these technologies as a tool. I mean, you can use a screwdriver to put things together, or you can use it Freddy Krueger style to kill somebody. It's a tool, right? And so it's important to understand the tools and apply the same moral compass that you would to anything else in your life. It's a tool. That's my instinct.
What do you think about that, Tessa? Because it could address the idea that you know, you were talking about kind of groupthink in some ways. It could
I
maybe
think
address
I'm not thinking short term right now, where it's at and what it's doing right now that is actually useful. I'm thinking more forest, more, you know, if the planet's still around in 70 years. And I do a lot of reading around technology and the future of technology and artificial intelligence. Not related to the space of art, but related to the general topic. And so I'm really aware of the two kind of main sort of theories about, one is going to be we're going to be destroyed, and one is it's going to be fabulous. And so I kind of sit somewhere in the middle because nobody knows what it's going to be. But I tend to think it's a tool, so I'm a control freak. As long as it remains a tool, it's probably going to be fantastic, and I think it's very important for all of us to always seek better tools, especially in that sphere. But I would be a staunch advocate for you need the human mind. And by the way, to the extent that it's true, the computers can, or artificial intelligence can create all these weird things that you and I wouldn't think about, but also the extent to which that stuff is being programmed, the reverse is also possible. In other words, you get a situation where I think I read somewhere like face technology, like they were feeding a bunch of white male faces into artificial technology, so they were having a really hard time finding anybody else who's like, yes, that works for once. But so, it's that kind of, our prejudices could become
The bias is built
the norm,
in.
and that, I think, is very dangerous.
Absolutely. I mean, AI is only as good as the data you give it.
Yeah.
And if you are biased in the data that you put in, you're going to get biased data out. It's just, it's like a black box. And I think it's important to explore those things. I think what we found is that there were some facial recognition technologies. It's interesting, like partly it was because there weren't as many African American faces fed in to teach the system, but it was also partly because the lighting systems that were used to demonstrate to record the faces were created to best highlight white faces. So it's a very complicated thing, and absolutely technology can be used to destroy, and the more bias we bring along with us, the more likely the technology is to further that out in the world. But before we run out of time, I want to do a quick ad when we're talking about movements, and I have a movement about movement. And so my side hustle is thefatchick.com or everybodycanexercise.com. And you can see a whole bunch of old fat people dancing to hip hop and having a really great old time. And you were talking about metrics for success. And am I rich? No. Am I having a blast? Yes. Am I changing people's lives a little bit at a time? Yes. And so, yeah, I mean, sometimes technology has the capability to divide, but it also has the capability to, I mean, there are not a lot of fat white old people dancing on TV right now. So, this is my niche. This is a little unique spot. So I just had to get my little ad out there.
Well, thank you. I love that. Question?
What I love from this group is to address social media that you suggest using for people 50 plus, and any tips or tricks that you can give us. I have a product, Bureau of the Sea Medical Aesthetics, and where are my people?
Your peeps are on Facebook.
Yeah.
And you don't really want their email address. You want a text. Actually, there's an idea that old people don't text. And the truth is that because of managed care and all of these medical systems, they're now getting their prescriptions that way. They're getting their doctor's appointments that way. So a lot more, I mean, sometimes they come up to me in my class and they say, I have a text, can you help me read it? So, not all of them, but I think there is a growing movement towards text with seniors because of the digitization of medical care.
Interesting.
They did a study not too long ago, or I'm not sure it was a study. I think it was just an article I read about how the people over 50 are much more likely to start a new business, far more entrepreneurial than people in their 20s, and their success rate is much higher for two reasons. One, because they have patience and wisdom, and two, because it's a huge, huge market. So if you're marketing to this huge generation, and particularly, what did you say it was? Medical. Anything medical, you can't really. It's yours to fail, and Facebook is absolutely the way to go.
Yeah, mostly because they're spying on their grandkids.
I have found that Instagram doesn't, and I heard this before, and I was like, no, that can't be true. So we did a crowdfunding campaign, which I just finished, and it was lovely. And it taught me, I mean, it wasn't my first crowdfunding campaign, but we were trying to link Instagram into the Facebook platforms that we were using, and blah, blah, blah. Lots of eyeballs from Instagram, absolutely no dollar conversions, like thousands of eyeballs. They loved it. Thumbs up, hearts, the whole 9 yards. That was their compensation to us. And to be honest with you, to the extent that we were crowdfunding for a feature film, blah, 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 we needed the emotional support, it was lovely. But in your case, it's not really, you're not looking for emotional support. So Instagram is hard, and I don't know why. Is it because there's no...
Well, it really is, it's a demographic question also.
Oh.
I mean, the heart of that audience is 35 and under.
Yeah.
And they will spend money. I mean, I can see why you say, okay, I'm in the beauty category, basically. I should be able to sell things on Instagram because there are a number of brands who are built right on that platform. Mm-hmm. Glossier is one that comes to mind for me. But the reality is there are very few 50-year-olds who are on the platform itself. They're gathering on Facebook. So in your particular circumstance, no. So I don't think it depends on what the product is and what the demographics are around the product, just like any media channel at the end of the day. So,
but your likelihood of success is very high.
Yeah.
Any other tips about how to use Facebook?
I think that we should defer this particular conversation. Maybe you guys can, if you've got some things that can share with you after, because it's a complicated thing and it might be boring for the rest of the audience, frankly. So, but I did want to, because you're bringing up the kind of the age question, and we had talked a little bit about age before, and I guess what I would like to kind of communicate with this panel is kind of the wisdom of age and why maybe you shouldn't, like the equity that these digital tools can bring and maybe some of the barriers they can break down, if anybody kind of wants to take that on, talk about it. So,
well, in terms of in general population terms, people who are aging, who force themselves to learn new softwares and new ways of communicating through technology have a much better chance of not having Alzheimer's, and that's documented. So I think it's imperative for my generation and those who are older than me to stay super, super current, actually learn to code if they can. I don't know, that's not for everybody, but certainly like every new thing that comes along, just go play on it for a little while just so that you can keep your head wrapped around like all that, because it's going so fast if you don't keep up. There you go. It's going so fast that if you don't do it, you're going to become irrelevant really fast. That's what I think about that.
So I do have media from Taryn. We want to see a little clip.
Oh, yeah. It's the trailer from my short film. Okay. And I edited this trailer together and licensed this music I found.
Sorry, it always takes me a minute to get this organized.
While she's queuing that up, I could, just tag on and say that in terms of what why older people should embrace these tools, one thing is that the older you get, the harder it is to get any kind of entree in traditional channels, right? And this is something we were speaking about beforehand. It's, whether you're a director or a producer or a writer, if you're a beginner and you're 60 years old or 50 years old, it's harder to find that space. So kind of DIY, rolling it up yourself, might give you opportunities that you wouldn't find otherwise. That's something to keep in mind.
I think it's a really, really good point, right? And also just the reminder that age shouldn't define how current you are, right?
Absolutely.
The tool sets are there, you can take advantage of them, and if you shock your friends because you have a Twitter account, well, so be it, right?
Yeah, shock your friends and terrify your grandchildren. That's what I really think.
Yeah. So,
Although culturally, we do have a tremendous age prejudice. I mean,
absolutely.
If you look at the statistics, it's the most abused discrepancy. I don't know what's the word, diversity in the culture, and that's not true in every culture, but it is true in the American culture.
Right, it's the last permissible form of discrimination. Yeah, for sure. So, all right, so we have Taryn's trailer.
get to this point live.
Exactly what we need to be broadcasting. Authenticity!
Wow. I want to watch that for sure. So any more general questions? Believe it or not, we're pretty much out of time once again. So anything else that you want to lob up here for this set of wise women? So, yes?
An actress was a baby nurse, but remember back in the day in the music industry, it was called a vanity label when you couldn't get a record deal to sign you. It's called a vanity label. I don't know if I should just get over it. I feel like unless I'm really well established, I have an issue with producing, writing, and starring. I mean, I might hire someone else to star it, but I have an issue with like a vanity label. Am I like, should I just help me shift that attitude, or do I have? I'm from like old school kind of, but.
It's
that impression. A lot of people have. They don't say it. They don't say it.
So can you just, I'm not familiar with it. So basically, would you say in that?
When you couldn't get a record deal.
Right, you would do it yourself.
Your own record.
Got it.
Right, or vanity press. Yeah, vanity press too in writing as well, yeah.
Part of me is like, people are encouraging to, produce my own thing. I mean, it's like a part of me feels like there's the, I don't know.
You know, it's funny that you're clearly not a millennial or Gen Z, because they would never consider asking that question. In their world, if that's all there is, right? You know, and they make decisions. Yes, but she's making my point, right? You basically just have to get over it. Yeah, absolutely.
No,
right.
wait. Let me give you one cautionary tale. Okay, because tools are wonderful. Maybe you don't need to learn every single tool and do everything. Like find some other old ladies and say, okay, you learn how to be an editor and you learn how to do sound right? Because you don't want to try and do everything. And I do also want to caution you that there is still the sense of vanity press in that there are companies out there that will claim to do things for you, that will take advantage of you, and they will take your money and you'll be very unhappy. You don't want that either. So you need to vet things carefully, but the notion of a vanity press, there's no Borders bookstore anymore. There's no vanity press. There's just press, right? So, I mean, it's a balancing thing. You do want to just do it. Get yourself some trusted partners. Don't try and be everything to everybody. There are so many talented people out there. This is Hollywood. You walk out on the street and you say, who does sound? And 10 people raise their hands.
I think that you made a very good suggestion. Thank you. And I have a group, but people that think themselves doing everything, and I just feel like and there are plenty of people in my generation and older that are biased, that they feel like I'm.
Well,
I'm glad that you said
this speaks to a cultural thing that we have that I have a real, that we struggle with a lot, and that is that Hollywood and the culture and the myth of what success means is based on a very sort of male, patriarchal, capitalistic. I don't like those words because they kind of, but they're pointing in the direction I want us to go with this thought, and that is that success is this pinnacle, and and there's a lot of people down here and they don't have any value, right? Because they're just down at the bottom of the pyramid. Okay, that's bullshit. It's really this. Actually, the world is this. The world is not this. The world is this. And so you might be on the bottom of this here, but it turns, and it's how you kind of view it, and that is the world today. So there's two reasons to create, right?
I never thought of us or anyone down. Those are all one. I know we'll have something to offer.
But if you feel like this is, if you're buying into the vanity thing, you're buying into this. You're buying into this, and don't do it. If you buy into this, you're stopping yourself. Go eat ice cream.
Did you have a question, Drew? I'm sorry.
I'm curious if there's what you're most excited about from a technological perspective, or like what's a technology that you feel like is missing from the industry that you wish you had now, or you foresee in the future that would make your lives easier.
What would the disrupt things?
I want a hollow room. I want a hollow deck really, really bad. And I know we're a long ways from that, but that would be so cool. And I want costumes, and I want the full Star Trek Data experience. That's something that I'm looking forward to.
I would actually like, and this is a little frightening, but I would like for everybody to be able to read everybody else's thoughts, because I think then we would become our best selves. Because if you walk around thinking that people are going to hear your thoughts, you really change your thoughts.
Or like me, you'd go to jail.
Yeah.
That's true. If you're in the same wavelength, you do read the person's thoughts.
That's true.
Frequency, vibration, energy does it.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Mixed reality, AR overlay. I'd love for that to be more incorporated into storytelling right now, because I think VR is experientially amazing. I know that Lori, I think, had interviewed Kevin Mack, and I was at a VR panel with him last year, and I did one of his Andala or whatever his experience, and it was basically, I can't even describe it to you, but it was euphoric. It was like I was on some incredible mescaline. I've never done drugs like that before, but I assume that's what it was like. And it was amazing and mind-altering. But I think you can have these really therapeutic experiential experiences in VR. But I think with mixed reality, with overlays, with three-dimensional holographic elements within storytelling, I think that we could really, as women especially, because I don't know, there's just something that we're missing in storytelling right now that I think that can add.
And for those of you who are wondering, this is VR, this is MR, okay? So in VR, you're kind of enclosed in your own little world, which can at times be more isolating. Mixed reality or augmented reality, you're seeing the artificial world and the real world at the same time.
Yeah. And there's some...
This should have a heart, too.
Yeah. There you go.
There's some interesting e-commerce retailers doing stuff with mixed reality, like you can put furniture in your room. And so, of
And
course...
5G is going to be a huge element of bringing that to mainstream data.
I think we lost our 5G SVOD person. I think she left, but she had questions about that before.
yeah.
But okay, so we have to wrap it up. So we're going to move on to the next panel. So thanks to these ladies, and thanks to you for being here. Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for coming. Announcing all of you. So I saved the best for last. These are our innovators, and I was incredibly interested in these folks because these people have taken their work or their lack of work in Hollywood, depending on the circumstances, and actually turn them into apps and tools that help other people in the business or help them learn. So, so Cass, I want you to pay particular attention to this panel, okay? You can stand up and cheer. Yay! So I'm going to start down at the end with Ayelet. Did I get that?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Ayelet is the founder of Actors Guru, and she's an actor, a voiceover artist, and a producer. And before all that, she was an attorney and an award-winning information management professional. She founded Actors Guru, which is a career management tool for actors. And she also, interestingly enough, had an award-winning web series called The Couch, and she was nominated for an Emmy Award. And I think
On the ballot.
on the ballot. Okay, you're on the ballot for the Emmy Award, and I think I was probably part of that, Ayelet, because I belong to the Interactive Media Peer Group. So nominate on the ballot for the Emmys for a short-form comedy or drama series. And she's a passionate proponent of advancing the roles and visibility of underrepresented communities, both in front of and behind the camera. So she's also a big lover of animals. Oh, and a national Latin ballroom champion. Holy crap. Is there anything you haven't done? No, yeah, lots of dancers for sure. So next to Ayelet is, I can't find your bio, Bonnie Wallace. Bonnie is a podcaster and an online educator. She's the author of the best-selling Young Hollywood Actors and acclaimed Hollywood Parents Guide, and she's the producer of the popular Hometown in Hollywood podcast. And she also writes a blog for parents of young actors at BonnieJWallace.com, and articles for Backstage. She also is the mother of Emmy Award-winning actor and Columbia Records recording artist Dove Cameron. Yay! And then right next to me with the extra appendage here is Drew Doyen. Did I say that, Doyen? Doyen, okay. Who's the founder and CEO of Upcast. And I love your story. Drew says that after he moved from New York to LA, he lived on a floor for 8 months to kick off his acting career. Since that didn't work out too well, he founded Upcast. So when he's not breathing or sleeping, I know all about startups, in the office, you'll find him finishing an entire pint of ice cream or working it off with a serious hike. He's a model, a world traveler, and a self-proclaimed songwriter. And then we're actually going to show you Drew's commercial in a minute. And one thing to think about the commercial is that it's actually your car, apparently. In the commercial. Yeah.
It just broke down.
Oh no! I'm so sorry to hear that. So I guess what I would really love to hear about from each of you, and I all day long I haven't asked everybody the same question, but I think it's important here, is what was the inspiration? Like, what drove you to say, I need this tool in the marketplace, or this set of information needs to be out here, or I'm going to take this digital platform like podcasting and make it useful for people? So let's start with you, Bonnie, since I was just thinking about podcasting.
Yeah, so I moved down here nearly 10 years ago with my then 14-year-old daughter, and the whole point in coming down here was she had this big dream of being an actor and a singer. And I thought, all right, I'm an intelligent, educated, resourceful person. I can figure this out. And I was stunned by how little support, real support and information that was good and trustworthy information that there was for parents of young actors. There was a little bit out there, but it mostly had some sort of angle to it that made me feel like, can I really trust what I'm hearing here? And when things were clearly on a good track, which is to say at the end of the first season of my daughter's show, I realized I was in a unique position to become the person that I wished had been here when we landed. And so, to be a resource for families like ours. And so I wrote the book first, and then I started the blog, and then I started the podcast, which actually has its 100th episode today, which is really exciting. Thank you. It's a big milestone, 100 episodes. It's been 4 years, and Kristen Chenoweth is my guest. So if you're a fan of Kristen Chenoweth, listen to it. It's just a joy. And then I designed some online video courses for parents, which, as far as I know, are the only things of their type out there. They're really well produced and they're really well done. It took me several years to put them together. And again, everything I do is about trying to educate and inspire, parents and young actors. I'm getting more and more followers who are young adult actors, which I think is really cool and interesting. The podcast, for example, is not aimed at parents. It's aimed at actors and anyone who's interested in the industry. So we have an intimate conversation where we sit down and we talk about, their journey and what they learned and everything else. And it's always with somebody who's at a really accomplished place in the industry. So they're fascinating to listen to. But all of this is to say, you have to find people where they are. So in my perfect world, I might sit and write books all day long. But the fact is, a lot of people don't read books. And I'm not going to reach a lot of people who need to hear what I have to say if I only do books. And so you have to slice it a bunch of different ways. The podcast reaches people in over 100 different countries. And the blog reaches people, and even social media, and the online courses. Not everybody can be face-to-face with me. So it's been fun to try all these different ways to find people and find them where they are.
Yeah, we often don't think about the idea of reach, right? And or that there might be somebody sitting in the Philippines who cares desperately about what you're trying to say or wants to know this, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting way to approach it. Do you get feedback from people?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the easiest way for me to get feedback, because
I've got a pretty well-designed website. You know, people can email me very easily, so I get
Mm-hmm.
emails pretty regularly. Also, obviously, just comments on Instagram or something like that, little Twitter back and forth.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
really nice. I mean, just knowing that you're making a difference and helping people make better choices, safer choices,
Right.
feels good.
Cool. Okay, Drew, so tell us about your inspiration.
So I started modeling in New York and then moved to Los Angeles to pursue acting because I never really wanted to model but thought that could be a good stepping stone. And after 1,000 auditions, typically an audition in LA is driving an hour in traffic each way, spending 30 seconds in an audition room and then driving an hour back, hopefully without getting parking ticket or whatever else happens in the day. And this is probably about 5 years ago. I've been in between gigs. I was fortunate enough to be working pretty regularly commercially and doing modeling gigs. I was teaching myself the code. I was working with small startups and building websites for friends and family and stuff like that. And it got to a point with my agents that I would have to be giving up a full day rate of a job just to go to an audition, specifically to go to like a theatrical audition. You're not going to miss going out for a lead role on a pilot or any audition for that matter from an agent, or especially theatrically. And this is all when kind of the iPhone 4 came out, and I was getting more and more self-tape requests. And my agents were saying, "Hey, can you just take a picture, go to the bathroom? What does your hair look like? Are you still in shape?" Whatever the case is. And I was like, "What? Is everybody at the agency just sending photos to this agent,
Yeah, but why are you
and then
sending it
they're downloading it, and then they're packaging it, and they're sending it to the client?" And I was literally auditioning from my phone, and that's kind of when the light bulb went off, and I thought, why can't I audition from my phone? The phones are taking really good pictures now. There has to be an easier way to go about this. And so I felt like I was in the perfect position to kind of merge my two passions of technology and being in the business and going to 1,000 auditions. And I started to create Upcast, which is a mobile app that lets models and actors audition from their phones. So instead of just sending outdated headshots, we allow them to send current photos and videos and make the entire audition process digital. So I mean, that's kind of how it all came together. There's it was a complete roller coaster, and it still is, just being in the startup world. But it took a year and a half before I actually had a product out there, and I was working full time on it.
Well, all right, we're going to talk more of that, okay? But I want to hear, since Ayala decided to add yet another thing to her resume, so why don't you talk to us about what your inspiration was for Actors Guru?
So I'll really sort of piggyback on what you guys said, which is that it came out of a personal need, right? So I became an actor. For me, it was the second career after being in the legal industry. And in the legal space, after practicing, I went into this area called knowledge management. And that is designing and building systems that give people access to the information they need when they need it. And I was working in larger teams. It was for large organizations, but essentially working on these projects and tools that allowed people to find sort of everything that lived in disparate siloed databases in one place. When I became an actor, I said, okay, I need exactly that. I need all of the information related to my auditions. I need all of the info, and that's not just a where and when. It's photos of what I wore. It's a self-tape video. It's all of the team members that were, that are attached on the breakdown to the audition. All of my relationship information and how I follow up with people, all of the business, coming to events, networking, all of this stuff, my training, what have I done, what do I plan to do, who do I like, who do I not like, which coaches are helping me get booked or not, or whatever, sort of all this information that lives in so many different places for us, in email, in text, in calendars, in a casting site, in our photos, in our, it's sort of maybe in a Dropbox, maybe an iCloud, it's just everywhere. And so I said, I want one place to go for all of this, and it will make my life so much more peaceful. So because I had the background in building these types of systems, it was sort of really bringing that over to the acting world.
That's awesome. So now the thing I want to hear about, and obviously you have an app, you have an app, you have an app, so there's some commonality in building those things. We'll talk about that in a second, but you went with a podcast and with online training. So do you have, like, when you wanted to create the podcast, where did you start, and like how much did you need to learn? Like basically, how hard was it? And do you have any horror stories that were part of it? Or do you have any things that turned out to be relatively crazily simple that you were surprised about?
Yeah, it's very interesting. There's a whole industry out there where you can drop a lot of money on learning how to be a podcaster. Sort of like an industry where you can drop a lot of money on how to be an actor. There's all these sub-industries, right? And there are a lot of people who would have you believe that you have to drop a lot of money on some very fancy equipment and this and this and this. And I learned that you really don't. I dropped $200 or $300 on a handheld, you can fit it in the palm of my hand, studio grade, Rode, portable recording device. It records an MP3. I love it. I can throw it in my purse. I can do a podcast anywhere. I can go to somebody's office if they can't come to me. I can do it on my couch in North Hollywood, which is where I prefer to do it. and so right away, that's cheap and dirty. You can use GarageBand, which tends to come with your MacBook anyway to do the editing, which is what I do. You can spend, I think I spent $100 on a license for the music that I open and close my podcast with. You don't have to pay an engineer to put all this stuff together for you. My brain doesn't work that way, and I figured it out, and it didn't take me that long. Little learning curves. I discovered that I have a better podcast experience myself, and I have a better product if I can see the face of the person that I'm talking to, because then we can read each other's body language, and there's less crosstalk, which is terrible. Crosstalk is terrible in a podcast. Learned that the hard way through a few phone interviews. I'm still working out like the best way to record something that's remote, like my interview with Kristen Chenoweth this week. She's in New York doing a Broadway show. I'm in LA, and so we did it this time. I tried Zoom. I'm not using Skype anymore for my online consultations. I'm using Zoom. Well, it was okay in terms of quality. Could it have been better? Yeah, but it's better to hear Kristen Chenoweth talking for 40 minutes than to not hear her at all. So, you don't have to be stopped, I guess, is one of the things I learned, is you don't have to be stopped by not having the best and the most expensive stuff. You can just do it and learn as you go.
What about distribution?
Distribution's fascinating. So originally I was just on iTunes. That was it. I'm like, well, who cares about anything that's on iTunes? But turns out people listen on a lot of different platforms. Mm-hmm. I also, I've had 3 different hosts for my podcast. I'm with Podbean now. I love them for what it's worth. Anyone who wants to do podcasts, Podbean has been great. And then the embeddable player that I have on my website, you can listen to the podcast on any different major platform. So you can be an Android person and listen to it. You're not stuck not having access to it because you're not listening on iTunes. And now I hired a part-time assistant, a digital native, God bless her. And she helped get the podcast onto a whole bunch of other podcast platforms like Stitcher, and it's on Spotify now and a bunch of other things. So it's reaching a lot more people.
Great.
It's been fascinating.
I have a friend who started, created the tool, a mom, created a tool called Messy FM, which basically it's designed to simplify the distribution path for, well, it's soup to nuts for podcasting. She describes it as the WordPress podcasting, but so it helps you create it and then also distribute it. It's a really, really lovely tool. As a matter of fact, Comcast just invested in it. It's that lovely. So anyway, check it out. Messy.fm.
Messy.fm.
Yeah. So let's talk about the journey through the app. We won't talk about the Apple App Store just yet, but talk about what did you have to do to get these things going? When you sat down and you started planning this and you knew it was going to take a certain amount of resources and time, and how did you put that together? I'll start with Ayelet this time. Yeah.
Sure. So, year and a half. Congratulations. Mine was a longer journey for certain reasons. I had the idea relatively early on when I transitioned into acting because I knew, honestly, that I wanted a passive source of income, and I was thinking of what options might be. And so I had the idea, but I would say I have most of the skill sets I needed, including a very high level of comfort with technology, but I'm not an actual coder. So I knew I needed an actual developer. It took me a while to find a partner, a business partner, but eventually did. He was a fellow actor who happened to be a developer, so it was perfect because we both understood the business side of what the tool was, which was difficult to find in a developer. Generally, they don't necessarily know what the creative and artistic world is like. And so that was perfect, and we chose time over money. So we ended up, there was about 3 years there where it was not at all full time. It was sort of, we were finding few hours here and there. It was me drafting all the specifications of what it should include, what it should look like, what the features should be, lots of things that are still in the future, deciding, triaging what should be in version 1 and what could live in version 2 or version 3. So it was me doing a lot of the strategizing and documentation, and then him sort of picking up with the actual development. But it literally was sort of finding a few hours here and there. And then about a year and a half ago, unfortunately for personal reasons, he had to step off the project. But it was still my baby, and I still wanted to make it happen. So I ended up, honestly, basically taking a chunk, self-funding, which I had not originally planned to do, but knew that I wanted to get it out there, and just hiring a developer. Once they were actually on it full-time, it was about 6 months. And so that was most of last year, and then I just launched actually around January of this year.
I didn't realize it was that. Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. So it was sort of a long process, but it was because of choices that I had made or we had made in terms of choosing kind of time over hiring a developer earlier on to just do it. So that was how I got from concept to live.
Okay.
Launch, yeah.
So a little side hustle that turned into a serious commitment. Is what I'm hearing.
Right. I mean, I knew that I wanted it in the future to be, but I did have to have other jobs that I was working. My partner had a full-time job as well as he had 2 kids. Kind of during that time, I had my acting career that I was developing, and then also I was a personal trainer at the time. That was kind of my income job at the time. So yeah, there were lots of different things going on, knowing that this was the plan for sort of the future.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we left that personal trainer thing out of your bio. But, You're like those characters, what was it in Living Color, the Jamaican family? It's like, how many jobs you got? How many jobs you got? So, Drew, how about you? So, you talked a little bit about, your inspiration and your thinking, but when push came to shove, how did you just make it happen?
It was, so the whole process definitely was more than a year and a half, but basically I had the idea, I had been doing some development, so I attempted to build the platform, the first version, kind of more so like an Airbnb of actors and models, but then, talking to people and getting feedback, nobody pays for work up front. So then you have the whole concept of 1099ing everybody, and I didn't really want to become a payments platform. So I knew that I needed to find co-founders. I had this whole obsession with the startup world that I really wanted to, my first job really in LA full time was working at a startup that had funding, and we were working out of a garage, and that's really what inspired me. Like, I want to live this life.
You watched Silicon Valley, by the
yes.
way.
So I wanted to dive in. I wanted co-founders. I wanted to build something from the ground up. So I started messaging every single person I could find on LinkedIn that was an iOS developer, trying to get people on board. I originally pitched the idea to a VP of a multi-billion-dollar company of advertising, and she said, "It's a great idea. Maybe I'll invest." So of course that was actually the original fire that made me start not sleeping. And I researched every single possible thing that I wanted included, how I could build it, what the tech stacks would be, etc., just to have as much of an understanding of everything that I could as possible. And that relationship ended up completely going sour, and I was like, well, I just spent several months trying to figure this out, meeting with dev shops that will build an app for you for anywhere from $40,000 to $400,000 were the quotes I was getting. And I was like, okay, well, now here's another opportunity for me to find somebody to bring in and like find co-founders. I found a husband and wife co-founders, and then they backed out. They already had six-figure jobs. They were worried about having the time necessary to come to the table and be equal partners. So then I was again back at square one. I was at a wedding in Cabo and met my eventual investor. We were mutual friends. I pitched him on the idea, and I was sitting between the idea of paying a developer $30,000 of my own money, which I never had, or attempting to raise money. And the successful entrepreneur said, it's a good idea. Let's meet in Santa Monica at my office when you come back. I met with him, pitched him. At this point, I already had very clickable prototypes. I knew exactly what I wanted to build, and I had done a lot of research and got feedback. And then it was 6 months. I don't even know, 6 or 9 months after him saying I'm going to invest before he cut a check. So I was able to raise money, which is the only reason that this came to fruition. But then there's so much more, after that. For example, if you're ever going to build something or work with a dev shop, we hired a dev shop. It was a contingency of raising money because at the end of the day, he was really only investing in me. I'm still a sole founder. And we got a fixed bid, which is kind of unheard of. We said, we are going to pay this much for this. And the dev shop ended up going 700 hours over, which would have bankrupted the company before we even launched. So definitely lots of learning curves and things like that would have not even been able to get off the ground. But anyways, from there, we started building the platform that I had dreamed of building. And then we launched specifically in Los Angeles and to test that we had a viable product that people would pay for. And semi-backstory of why someone would ever invest in one person, which is the most difficult thing to do is raise money or do anything as a sole founder.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to work at an ad agency, a small digital ad agency, where I got to be CMO of 15 different companies. And I was running ads and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month of other people's money. So I had the idea, which people were like, oh, cool idea. But that was not investable to anybody I talked about. It was really just me selling myself and I know how to market it. And I don't know if that's even still true, but that's that's kind of how we launched and then iterated from there. But we launched our beta in November of 2016 and officially launched in 2017.
I found you in my email box. Isn't that funny? When I was from your launch.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
you reached out to me, and I'd have to go back and look at it and figure out how you found me. But after I talked to you about getting you on the panel, I was searching in my box, and there you were. Now that tells you how often I empty my email. That would be never, but
you didn't reply.
I'm sorry.
Should have turned you down.
You should have. It's funny, but that brings me to the next question, which is finding audience, right? So you're nodding, Bonnie. So tell me a little bit about your journey. I mean, obviously, some people are finding you, all of you, but what are you doing on that front?
That's actually, for me, been probably my greatest struggle, because I think in any industry, we all kind of know the basics of what we need. If you're an actor, you need a headshot and a resume and an agent. You probably need some acting classes. It's a quick and dirty, bullet point list. If you're the parent of an actor, you don't necessarily know that you need help.
Mm-hmm.
You may well think that you don't need help, and you don't know what you don't know. And because I think I'm in a niche where I'm a category creator, pretty much, it's not like I'm ever going to be on that short list of bullets. And I need a consultant, I need a coach, I need someone to, save me thousands of dollars and years of heartbreak, who knows what they're doing. So to find my audience, my audience needs to know, they need to identify as who my audience is. My audience essentially has been what we would call stage parents, parents of young actors. And the problem is in our culture, stage parents don't want to identify as stage parents because they feel really squirrely about that. They're like, oh, I'm not like those guys. I'm not like toddlers and tiaras. I'm not like those horrible women that you see on the tabloids, the mothers of the kids who become train wrecks. Whereas if you're like a soccer mom, you're like, I'm a soccer mom, and they'll have it on a bumper sticker on their car. They're so identified with it. So I have a continual issue
That's interesting, yeah.
finding people who will identify themselves as who they are so that we can find each other. So what I've done, and it's a continuing struggle, and if anybody has great ideas, I'm open to them.
Drew's available.
Thank you, Drew. I'm just, as you've seen, I'm slicing and dicing everything I do to try and get myself out in as many different, ways as I can to catch people where I can. And whenever I do a lot of one-on-one consultations. I ask people where they found me. Now, after 5 years of really doing this, I'm coming up in Google searches a lot, which is fantastic. And I've been working on the SEO. I'm using the Yoast plugin on my website,
on your website,
which I love, and I think that that's making a distinct difference. I know Instagram is bringing people to me. Sometimes people find me through my kids, because my kids are both professionals in the industry. But that's literally like I'm like climbing that mountain all the time.
Yep. Well, you and a lot of folks. So, yeah. So, Ayelet, I found you because you had partnered with Women in Film.
Right.
Right. So I was looking through the deals we get, and there was Actors Guru, and I thought, oh my God, this is great. As a matter of fact, that's when I told Cassidy about it. Are you paying attention? Okay. So, obviously, you've been doing a little bit of partnership work, but what else? Have you kind of geo-targeted the way Drew is, or how are you kind of pursuing audience for Actors Guru?
So I should talk to also Drew after. So I'll agree with Bonnie that the marketing aspect wasn't, I'll say, my native skill set, and that has also been a bit of a learning.
I cannot believe there's a skill you don't have.
So and actually kind of similar to you, where your client doesn't even know they're a client. Right? With me, I have a similar sort of hurdle, which is that it's a tool that essentially didn't exist on the market. And so people don't even know what the tool is to know what it does, even though actors are always sort of coached and told, you need to track everything and you need to, whatever. Since the tool essentially didn't exist on the market, it's like you have to wrap your head around what it even does. There's sort of an analogy that people use in the knowledge management or information management world, which is that if you ask someone who has a horse and buggy what they need, they'll say a faster horse and buggy. Yes. They won't say a car. Yes. And even if you showed them a car, there's still a long journey between them seeing a car and actually really understanding what a car does if they're used to sort of horse and buggy. And so, and I feel like in my world, the parallel is kind of like the spreadsheet versus what there's so many limitations to sort of the do-it-yourself and the spreadsheet that I kind of, am sort of bypassing and helping to solve, a lot of that. But I sort of have to explain what it even does as a product, But yeah, I've done a lot of sort of work on creating kind of avatars, right? Like who is the ideal client and targeting. But it has been trial and error. I would say for me personally, I have been doing a lot of partnerships with organizations, coaches who do like the business side of acting coaching because it fits seamlessly with what they do. I host a monthly free workshop series for actors, and I try to do that on topics that I feel like are underrepresented in the community. So I just started this a few months ago. My first one was mental wellness for actors. My second one was financial wellness for actors. And then a week from today is legal wellness for actors, where I'm going to have my own entertainment attorney answering questions. And so I started that. And my newsletter, I share various things. I'll be at, actually, I was just talking to you about this earlier. There's an event called the Actors Pro Expo, which is an annual event in New York and LA. I'm going to be there, on Saturday. But yeah, so of course, social media. But yes, there's been, I would say, also getting myself in as many channels as possible. And then, you know, it's been less than a year, so I'm still kind of figuring out where the sweet spots are.
Quick thought, feedback. I love your analogy of the horse and buggy and the car thing, and I just, that makes so much sense on so many levels. So when the car first came out, they called it a horseless carriage. And so to just like ride that analogy a little bit further, that is the way people's minds are like, oh, it's a horse, you got one of those new horseless carriages. What would the horseless carriage be for you? Because people have these like categories in their minds. And I wonder what it would be for me. But like,
no, it's a good question. Do you mean what would be the term that I could...
That would help them like go, oh, I need that.
Right.
And I know what that is.
That's a really good question. I obviously have language that I use now on, you know, my sort of my tagline and such on my website, but that's a really good question, and I should think about what, if there's, again, sort of a sweet spot of language that would, grab onto it. It's a great question.
Something to...
Absolutely, yes.
So how about you, Drew? I mean, obviously you emailed me and I didn't respond to you, so we know that happened. But
Were you at the Women in Film holiday party last year?
I was.
I hosted it.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you for the party.
Yeah, no, I didn't know if we had met. I was like, I didn't realize.
Well, that's a great thing. You hosted the Women in Film holiday party?
Yes.
That's very cool.
I didn't go to the holiday party last year. So I missed you.
I'm blanking on not remembering who I worked with. But yeah, I mean, it was great.
Oh, cool.
It was just like 150 women film people. It was
great. Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
What are you doing to find audience? And clearly, hosting the Women in Film holiday party is helpful. Right?
Yeah. So I mean, I'll tack on like what the most difficult thing about running this company is specifically. So and we'll see hopefully my commercial at some point, but the marketing commercial is where all of our actors come from. It's got millions of views, and the reality is that like there's no hungrier industry in the world. People want to work. It doesn't matter whether they're trying to be extras. Like actors want to work, and they'll do anything to work. They'll install a new app. Anything that offers more opportunity, right? And they should be. That's what everyone always says. Sign up for everything. Do everything you need to do. Make sure you are everywhere. So for us, it's easy. We have almost 50,000 actors on the platform. That's not really a metric for.
Put a partnership together here.
Here's my
I don't even think of that as like necessarily an impressive number. It's just the fact that people are willing. So we're putting it in front of them, which is kind of the same thing. People didn't know that there was an app to audition, the same way that they may not know that there's a way to keep track of everything easily, so they know that they had already met with XYZ casting director in 2017, and this is what they did wrong, and the type of feedback that they got. The difficult thing is getting casting professionals and people ignoring emails. Is getting jobs, and that's kind of that's the most difficult thing of the entire industry. Is there's still a lot of gatekeeping, which is good, and you need it in some capacities. But what we're really trying to do is democratize the casting process a little bit. We find our audience. It's not that difficult to find actors per se through targeting, and because I have a background in marketing, it's all social. But I will say that it's not like, oh, well, Instagram's great for finding actors, or Facebook is great for finding actors. Everywhere you advertise can be good for actors. Because in New York, we have thousands of people that are over 40. In LA, we have audiences that aren't necessarily on any platform. What has been successful for us is our marketing material and selling that pain point and getting the shareability out of it. Because it's one thing for someone to see something and be like, oh, that's cool, maybe I'll sign up. But if their friend tells them, have you heard about that thing? Now I'm tracking my stuff, or whatever the case is. It's really a lot of like the social proof of like a friend saying it or being on it, or utilizing any sort of success stories, and saying like, I use that.
Do you do anything to incentivize the sharing of your app? The like people who are using it, do you do anything to incentivize their telling their friends about it?
So So in the beginning, we launched it just in Los Angeles, and we did an entire like viral scheme of invite 5 friends and you'll get 6 months free, and we got thousands of people on a wait list. So anytime we launched a new market, we had a wait list. So we never like blindly launched and was like, hopefully people will sign up. Every market we had at least like 2,000 to 5,000 people on a wait list. So we could say like we're launching in a week, and then day 1 we would have 500 users. We could fill hopefully like a role, not any role, which we still can't because there's the behemoths out there like LA Casting and Actors Access that have 500,000 actors plus. So to convince a casting director, oh, come here where there's 50,000 people scattered across the United States that a lot of them aren't represented, to use us versus these old, archaic technologies.
Archaic is right. This thing's
is the difficult part. So it's part technology and offering new tools and stuff like that. But it's mostly like, how do I get in front of them?
Yeah.
Most of the people that can see it and touch it and be like, oh, that's cool, will use it. It's really getting them to be open to it.
Okay, well, that being said, because it's 4:57, believe it or not, let's take a look at Drew's commercial, which I loved. So, sorry, you're probably going to see a bunch of emails, so I haven't answered.
10 from me.
No, only 1 from you, Drew. You didn't work hard enough. You're supposed to get 7 no's, right?
Hi, I'm Drew, founder of Upcast, a mobile app that lets you audition for modeling and acting jobs from your phone.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, there's finally an app for that. Why did I create Upcast? You took my spot, asshole!
Oh, sorry, guys.
Because you have better things to do than spend 90 minutes driving 2 inches on the 40 Me 5 before circling the block for parking more times than Mario Andretti at a Grand Prix. You could be at home swiping through auditions on your phone while drinking the latest, greatest, non-fat, half-cap, gluten-free, taste-free beverage. Tree bark. Instead of getting another parking ticket because the street signs in LA read like hieroglyphics. Poor Milo here. He spent his entire day going from cattle call to cattle call.
Number 762?
You know, the kind where you have to dress up, then strip down. Or do your best impression of a constipated clown. And the rest, that are just a total letdown. Dude, this blows. I know, but it doesn't have to. With Upcast, just swipe to find the role that's right for you. Then, just send a photo of yourself acting like Napoleon riding a unicorn.
Wait, I just auditioned from a phone?
Yep.
No drive across town for a single photo bullshit?
Nope, because bullshit's for cows. What's not for cows? Messages from casting right to your phone. Guess who's the new face of Imperial Cologne? Looks like you can pay for that parking ticket now. So stop wasting time and money and start booking work. Sign up for Upcast today. Wait, what parking ticket?
That was awesome. So we didn't get a lot of interaction with our giant audience. Are there any questions that anybody would like to ask? Or
Are you guys protected with patents, or are you? Wow, there are so many scams.
Sorry, guys.
We're not. There's not really anything from like a design patent that felt even like worth pursuing. We didn't really invent any technology. The good thing is, I think with what's kind of like patented to me is the fact that like I wouldn't want to be Upcast 2. Like, you know what I mean? Whether it's because we're doing well or because we're not doing well, it's difficult, and people have already kind of seen audition from your phone. So it's I was terrified. I hid the idea from everybody. I didn't even tell my friends about it. I kept it a secret, which is a terrible thing to do. I would recommend every founder to just blurt out your idea. I thought that everybody was going to be on our tails immediately, and here we are 4 years later, and nobody even has a mobile app. Never mind letting people actually audition from their phones. So I mean, I don't. Yeah, we don't really have technically any IP, but being first, I guess, is our
market position of like
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
So similar, the technology itself isn't proprietary. I've trademarked the name. Actors Guru. And side note, you actually have to trademark each category of use of it. So I've trademarked the sort of the name itself and the graphic, and also I figured the merch that I'm most likely to sell is textile related. So I also added that kind of on, but I didn't do other things. I was like, I won't do mugs. I won't do. Anyway, I was like, you have to choose what you're going to spend money on. Anyway. But yeah, so that's the only thing that I did was the name. But it's similar, which is that, and I did start out, I was always open with the idea because I figured it takes so long to sort of develop a good version of it that the chances that if I'm already well into whatever my process is, the chances that someone's going to steal an idea and get ahead of me and then launch before, it was so remotely slim that it's much better to sort of get the idea out there. First of all, you're already planting the seed of it for your own launch, but also in terms of finding collaborators and partners and stuff like that is much more valuable than the chance that someone would be faster than you and getting it done.
And how do you guys iterate? Like, how do you test new things that you want to put into your product?
So we're a really small team. I've had one developer, my CTO, the entire time. So we're able to launch features in a week. But the way that we iterate right now. So for example, we partnered with a casting company called Waldron Casting in New York City. They cast Blacklist, Blind Spot. So we're casting extras and featured actors for like 10 network shows in New York. So the way that we get them to kind of partner with us is we say, what features do you want? And that's how we kind of build. We're really building kind of on demand versus building things that I think casting directors want or independent filmmakers, et cetera. So we iterate, we work in like sprints of, like here's our next features and we knock them off. Sometimes we're working kind of technologically backwards in my opinion, but that's because we launched as an iOS app and then we launched an Android app. And then now we built a mechanism for people to submit from their computers, which is against what I would think of pushing technology forward. But the reality is people are used to getting home at the end of the day, scrolling through a list of roles, and submitting. So how we try to differentiate and add technology is we now let people submit current photos from their computer. So we launch their webcam and don't allow uploads if that's what a casting professional wants. But really, it's by listening to customers, both from the talent side and from the casting director side.
And just go ahead. Well, I was going to say, for what it's worth, I trademarked Hometown to Hollywood, which is the name of my podcast, because I'm pretty enamored of it. I think it's a really great name, and I thought I'm investing so much energy into this. I'm not going to have somebody else run with this. And I do crowdsource questions. And then I repurpose content. It shows up in books and things. So it's like there's stuff you can do. Yeah.
I mean, even before launch, I still, I have this huge long list of features that I want to be continuing to develop for future versions. But what I do is I sort of intermingle that with just general user feedback. Sometimes users email and say, hey, it would be great. I also have, for the purpose of kind of marketing success stories and stuff, I have a few users that are essentially serving as case studies for me, and I actually meet with them regularly to get their feedback on it. And then also sort of a new milestone for me as of maybe about a month or two ago, I was able to bring on 2 strategic advisors as well. So one is Karina Walters, who's a very accomplished casting director, a network casting director, and one is Kim Jackson, who has also written kind of a book, Hollywood Survival Guide, and sort of other things, and she's an actor. So it's really sort of consulting with people on different sides of the equation, and as well as just my own experience as an actor and what I need.
Awesome. Well, thank you. This has been super great. I think I've loved this because I'm a technologist myself, and so just to kind of hear these journeys has been really terrific. Thank you so much for coming. And our dynamic audience for staying with us. So we really appreciate the fact that you're here. Yes, you are.
Right. We appreciate it.
And then, of course, our tech support in the back, our AV guy, who's ready to go home. All right, that's a wrap.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you still working with
I hate public speaking, so anything like this is great.